Kia ora, welcome back once again, everybody. Here with another reaction, continuing on with the Kyle Morgan ex-Delta Force operator on the Shawn Ryan show. So let's jump back in.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, and I remember one time I went home because I would drive back to Florida just to get away, like 8-hour drive, like on a regular weekend. So like a Friday, release, and then got to be there first formation or, an hour before that formation and whatever. So I'd be there. I would just drive straight through. And this one time I remember them like,
just for context, for those that might not have seen the one before, from memory, this is where Kyle is speaking about, or Shawn's asked him about where he was at 82nd Airborne and some of the racism and stuff that he observed and that he saw there during his time, and that he would stand up to it, and some of the chain smoking and stuff that was happening in there and different meetings. And so he was talking about a piece there where he had to hold out. So just before where he's gotten into now, he'd had to hold out a couple of Kevlar helmets in his hand, and then they'd taken or put in and out trivia questions and ask him, and he was talking about that he'd have to stay there for sometimes hours at a time to go through all of that stuff with them. And then he's just spoken about taking a trip, so part of his escape, to just sort of, I suppose, get out of that environment for a bit when they'd get some time for a break, an 8-hour drive each direction. To get away. That sort of, actually, that reminds me of being on cycle in NZ before the roads and stuff were updated, and you have the Expressway 1. I think it used to take about 7-8 hours thereabouts just to travel from Auckland to Palmy. So when I'd travel with a couple of the guys that I was on cycle with, they were kind enough to let me jump in the car with them and travel back to Palmy so that I could see my darling at the time. So that was cool. But yeah, I think it was about maybe 7 to 8 hour, or maybe it was 6 to 8 hours, but it was a long drive anyway. That was just in one direction, but it was worth it for me. Sounds like listening to this guy Kyle talking about, the need for him to try to sort of escape that environment for a bit where he could. Hopefully it was a good thing for him as well, but pretty disappointing that sort of stuff was happening during his time.
calling me, hey, we need you to show up at this detail. And it was like a shoot shakeout detail, like that last minute. It was on a Saturday. And I was like, hey, Sergeant, I'm not in North Carolina. I'm in Florida.
Oh, shit.
And they were like, oh, really? Okay. Well, no, just enjoy basically, the way I remember it was like, enjoy your weekend, but we got something for you when you get back. And I remember that day vividly, which I don't remember a lot about, just through physical and psychological trauma. It's like, but that is very vivid to me because I got back at like 4 a.m, and the squad leader, staff sergeant, like stayed overnight waiting on me. Like had a home off post, and this is his life, and basically I got smoked, like scuffed up, or I don't even know what you call that, like corrective, like punishment or whatever.
Is that like dead ground counseling where you get a bit of a tune up? Maybe, I don't know. When he's saying he got scuffed up, I don't know, is the guy there waiting to confront him to then give him a tune up or a slap around the ears, or give him some, I think that the term that would be used in NZ, I don't know if it's used in Australia, but yeah, some dead ground counseling back in the day for those that were on the receiving end, or those that were on the end of dishing it out. So anyway, let's see where this is going.
For a good 36 hours.
No
to
shit.
the point where I was like, I was doing like, I couldn't. And
okay, maybe it was like confined to barracks instead. So 36 hours, maybe just got given a whole bunch of superfluous tasks that he needed to perform and do, and change parades or whatever. I don't know what they do in the US military in terms of charges or extracurricular activities to punish somebody. But 36 hours, he must have just been getting beasted with different jobs and tasks to do, and maybe throwing in that as some physical PT training sessions as well.
Yeah, but for what though? Like build character?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it really built character. I think what it did do for me is it showed me what a leader is and isn't. And it started to. It was like the first cusp of, well, this is what leading is, and being in charge, right? Like being in charge is a title. Like I could throw a title on you, like whomever, and that doesn't mean that you know how to lead. So that's why I've been very focused on, like, at its core, it's about communication and compassion for others to lead.
Yeah.
It just is.
That's awesome. That's powerful there. Communication and compassion for others. Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. There's lots in there, and I hope that lands and resonates with people that may be listening. But the communication piece is a piece that I'm still trying to learn, develop, and grow. Compassion, again, is another piece that still trying to learn, develop, and grow. Those that know me well and those that have known me from, I would say, probably earlier on in my career in the military, through to my time having the privilege to serve in the Australian Special Air Service, and even probably post during that some of that time as well. Compassion from me probably wasn't a trait or a quality that you would, or that people would probably associate with me. Probably more selfishness, probably more, I think there would have been probably elements of dedicated, disciplined, demanding. Those would probably be things that more than likely people that knew me back then would have probably labeled me as or associated with me. I don't think compassion probably would have been in the mix. But I like to think, hopefully, it's never too late, and that I can try to improve and develop those things in terms of communication and compassion going forward. So, yeah, love that comment from Mr. Kyle Morgan. Thank you, bro.
It's like there's a time to take charge and be in charge, like and lead. Excuse me. In those situations where decisions need to be made. But that's where I viewed and always sought out, like, there's got to be something else out here better, and I think very quickly, we went to Iraq in June of 2003.
With the 82nd?
Yeah. And I realized pretty quickly when I'm like getting off the damn airplane and we're like locked and loaded, man, doing all these like spirals to get into BIOP, and they had just like, set up, and I was like, oh man, we're getting in it. Right. As soon as we hit the ground. And I'm like, oh, here it comes.
Were you excited? Did you want it?
Yeah, I was excited. Yeah. I was like, yes. And, I was scared. I was like, oh, I don't know. But there were so many of us. I was like, oh, we got this. And they know what they're doing. And then they land, and the ramp lowers, and it's the freaking 82nd Airborne Division band.
Get the hell out of here.
Like,
are you shitting me?
I was like, wait a minute. You mean the band beat us here? Like, what? What is going on? It was just like, I was really taken back from that. And I was like,
I'm going to try to edit this piece and put this piece into a short. That's a crack up. The 82nd band beat them there into Iraq when they're flying in there, tooled up, ready to go, excited, nervous, but confident as well in their training, the people that they're with. And he's talking about they're spiraling down into the Baghdad International Airport. And then the ramp lowers down, and then there's the there's the band playing. Oh man, Shawn Ryan's reaction is crack up as well. Just seeing him laugh as hard as what he's doing just bloody made me laugh even more. But hard case. Oh man, I'm tempted to just pause this one here and just have this as the video, but I'll let this carry on more because we're only coming up to 10 minutes, so we'll crack in a bit more.
It's like, okay, report over there. And it was like this tent that didn't even have the walls. It was just like a tent, no AC, like none of that, man. It was 140 degrees, man. And I just remember doing the acclimation for 2 weeks where you're just laying in sweats or pools of sweat in these cots. And it just looks like human silhouettes, just like when you stand up from it. It was just so, and just like the ice, the moments of reprieve, like, they would bring in these big ice blocks, like from wherever. And you just like try to like hug it, and it was hot. And, yeah, and then we got pushed to the base that we were going to take over, and it was this old chicken factory in Mahmudia, Yusufia, and that's when shit started getting real. And that's the part where I think I saw so many other things, and we did so many different things as an infantry battalion in that space, that in support of other different elements and special operations. And I didn't know. I was just like, who the hell is that? Who's that? Why do they look like that? And I'm like, I want to see what I want to do what they're doing. Like, because I also realized, like, man, nobody knows what the fuck they're doing. Like in the earlier stage of the war, it was just like, we're like ratchet strapping emery boxes full of fucking rocks and sand and shit on cargo Humvees as armor. To roll around,
no shit.
To roll around to just react to contact. Like, what's our mission? Just react to contact. Or you're just like 9 dudes in a Humvee just waiting to get stitched up. And
that's a crazy ROE and connect or mission set or task. Like, what are we going to do? What's the mission? What's the objective? Go out and react to contact. That's crazy. I don't know who's writing up or drafting up those orders, and I don't know who has the confidence to go issuing those orders to people and giving them that instruction. That's nuts.
Were you rolling out and
drag that in?
Yes.
There's a lot of places.
convoys, or was it just one?
Yeah, we had our platoon convoys just rolling out our areas of responsibility or whatever, but it was legitimately like fishing, except for we were the bait. It's just like, what are we doing?
How did you, at that young age in a conventional unit, did that strike you as, I don't know if we should be doing this shit?
There was moments of that where I was just like, you see things and then you're a part of them, and then you're like, I don't really understand that. And if they can't explain the why, like,
would they try to explain the why?
Sometimes they wouldn't. Sometimes they're like, because it's what we do. And I'm like, but I just would take note in my head. And I'm like, just like when I first showed up, like, okay, roger that.
Yeah.
And I used that to help build like my own like sense of duty and act and how to act and operate. And it's continued to like never really conforming to, well, we just do it without someone explaining. And I remained curious about it, you know? And I think that's a massive part of why I was able to accomplish these things I accomplished. And
I'm genuinely fascinated in how conventional units work, because I never had the opportunity to work in a conventional unit. Went straight into soft. So I've worked with conventional units, but I've never been in one. Are they at all open to new ideas?
I think just like any organization that's still an organization in the military, like conventional or not, like through 20 years of what we've been doing, like they had to evolve. Mm-hmm. And because like even when we were train up for that first deployment, I was doing inner and clear trench, man. Like Bangalore torpedoes, concertina wire, and like getting down and like clearing by fire with like 2 people in line, like
Vietnam
shooting everywhere.
shit.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it's evolved, and it had to, because it's trial by fire. Like, you have to.
I love how he spoke about earlier, before getting into this as well, and Shawn's question, which is awesome, which we'll hear Kyle speak a bit more about from a conventional perspective in terms of operation. But I love how Kyle spoke about staying curious, remaining curious, and that he drew upon and used those experiences, his observations, what he saw, what he felt, to help guide him in what he felt was right, what he needed to do when it comes to leading, when it comes to being, I guess, a follower, a member of a team, because that curiosity piece is really important. I've learned that over the years. It took me a while to figure that out and pick that up. Not that I've got it all figured out, but the curiosity aspect in terms of looking to learn and grow, it does, at least for me anyway, it starts with a bit of a spark of curiosity. And then hopefully, if you can nurture that, it can grow and develop into more and more. And as you, at least for me anyway, and my take on it, as I maintain that curiosity, I develop and grow and learn more and more, and hopefully become a little bit better in the process of that. So I think that curiosity is a really important piece. It's something that just really resonated with me when I heard Kyle mention it. Anyway,
all those things that you did before that maybe worked for you in the past, or was just this like Garrison mindset of like, well, you got to be crisp and roll your sleeves up and they look really good on your arms, man. But like, it's not. There's a balance between discipline and military bearing and culture, and accomplishing the missions being asked of you, and to truly be able to do those as a conventional force or unconventional, we've had to adapt. And I think that the units that are successful in the divisions and the corps and they're successful because they had the ability to do that eventually,
Yeah.
And I'm being critical of this. Was in 2003, man. Like,
yeah, it was, I mean,
it was the Wild Wild West. It was like no one knew like who's who, what's going on. There, all these things that we've just gotten so accustomed to on the battlefield, like from.
Clearly, there's obviously different rule sets and different part of Iraq that Kyle and his team were in 2003. For me, we were out in the Western Desert looking for these WMDs, which are going to be launched into neighboring countries and cause all sorts of death and destruction and mayhem. But, we never found any, and none of the coalition found any. So who knows? But I remember just listening to him speak. I remember there were times when we'd have our little shortwave radio and we'd be listening in, or we'd listen into the communication or the propaganda, for want of a better term. And I think at times there was talking about how American forces are saying that they're now in Baghdad, Iraq, and that they're not there. And then at the same time, you're seeing, you'd see some footage was being released of US troops actually in Baghdad. So, yeah, some of the, I guess, the Iraqi media, because Saddam was still on the run by then, hadn't been found, there was still a level of control, for want of a better term, in and around the media and what was being shared or touted as false or true, or whatever the case might be. But the reality is that, yeah, the US troops were in Baghdad. Obviously, listening to Kyle, his one version of things that were happening during that time on Kyle's watch whilst he was there with the 82nd. And yeah, if that's what was happening, we have his word and basically his experiences that he's sharing with us in terms of what was going on there. And it doesn't sound great, in terms of the mission sets, in terms of reacting to contact, in terms of, it seemed like people didn't really know what was going on or where they needed to be, at least not within a short period of time anyway. I guess that took some time to develop. But for us, we're out in the Western Desert. Yep, there's a few contacts and things that happened. Nothing as major as what was happening or what was about to happen within the urban environment within Iraq itself. And we felt like, hey, we've cleared our AO, our area of operations, like redeploy us is what we were thinking. Redeploy us. Maybe we go back just to retool, rekit, get some fresh orders, and then let's get into Baghdad as well. That was our, I think, for the most part, well, at least that was my thinking, and at least a few of the team members that I was a part of thinking as well. It would be good to get in there for those similar reasons. We want to get in there and stop whatever at that time we believed was happening. The WMDs, we didn't find any. Okay, maybe there's some other stuff. Well, this person's hasn't been a very good person anyway, so let's get in there and let's see if we can stop all of that sort of stuff that was happening in there as well. So interesting to hear Kyle's experience, but also a little disappointing, I guess, from my perspective, to hear of just sort of how disjointed and unorganized things seem to be. But again, I take it this is Kyle's experience that he's gone through, and that there's likely a whole bunch of other perspectives and experiences that aren't included in this one interview.
Like, that's where I believe that we, as a country and a fighting force, are the most lethal and effective fighting force on this planet, as military power is concerned. Like,
yeah, I've just seen the time now. It's a little over 21 minutes. There's no denying America's superpower, when it comes to defense. I think I've touched on it in other videos when talking about SF units and just the operational tempo, the exposure, the experience that the American military has had, not just the SF, although the SF has had massive amounts of exposure. There's no denying it. But just even their conventional, their regular corps and soldiers within the US Defense Force have experienced a heck of a lot of military operations and combat. So yeah, you get no argument from me in terms of America's power, their strength, and their seeking to lead from the front whenever those things happen. And they've got the manpower, they've got the funding, they've got the resources, they've got the tools, the knowledge, the expertise to do it. So it is, I can only speak for myself, but definitely feel privileged to be able to be on the same side as a force, as a superpower like America. Because imagine us, little old New Zealand, China. Yeah, we definitely are grateful for the opportunity to be a part of the Five Eyes, as an example. Anyway, that's enough from me on there. We'll come back to this one. I'll keep chipping away. There's a whole bunch of other ones, so we'll come back to this from time to time, as well as DJ Shipley's as well. Again, 5 hours and then 4.5 hours respectively, and their interviews. There's a lot to get through. At least, though, there is a chunk of this interview that has already been done, which was in and around the Radisson Blue piece, which was the part where people first sent me this link to do a reaction on this interview. So appreciate everybody's support and those that have been sticking with me, putting up with me. Thank you very much. And if you're new here, apologies or thank you. So apologies if you didn't like what you saw or heard, but also thank you as well if you spent any time here, regardless of whether you stayed or not. So yeah, I think that's about all for this round. That being said, again, as always, any challenges, obstacles, trials that any of you are going through, and I know that there's, if not all of yous, I know that there's at least one of yous out there that may be watching this video or seeing this part of the message that will be able to resonate if you are going through challenges and obstacles. We all are. Know that you're not alone. Know that the sun will shine again, and know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, even though we may not be able to see it at this time. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep turning up each day. Keep staying in the fight. And you will get to that light at the end of the tunnel, I promise you. Stay consistent, stay disciplined. I know it's not easy, but it's definitely always worth it. As always, go always a little further. Remember who dares wins. And until the next video, from me to you, a big mana wave coming your way, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.